righty. Hi there. Thanks for coming to the July meetup of AI Camp. I know it's a nice and sunny day, so thank you really for coming. Without much ado, let's get started. We have, okay, before we get started, really important thing, Wi-Fi, as well as there's a QR code. So just if you can like check in, we're just trying to make sure that we track and then the also planning on something. So um, if you guys can do that, give 2 seconds. All righty. Since you guys are all here, I'm sure you know about the AI Camp, but just I am obliged to tell you a little bit about AI Camp. We are global AI developers and enthusiasts. We're about like 500,000 people all across the world, and yes, Seattle. We have about 20,000 members here, and yeah, we just wanted to learn and grow with each other. And if you guys are interested or inspired after today, wanted to like help help build a community, just come up to me or Bill or Pumina in the back over there, and yeah, just come talk to us. And then you guys can help hosting event or different things, and there are so many different things we can get your help with. And yeah, if you want to be a speaker, like two great speakers that we're going to be hearing about today, submit a topic, and then we can also bring you guys up here as well. And also, if you wanted to sponsor the event, like a food and so on, always welcome. Okay. All right, and yeah, just a couple of highlights. Background. All right. Just a couple of highlights. So there's some interesting virtual events coming up. AI Learning with the Google and the Intel, respectively. You guys can come to AI Camp website, or they also go into the Discord server, and then they get all that. And then the next in-person AI meetup here will be in August. So after today, and then we'll see you in a month. All right. And just mention that that's a Discord server. So if you guys wanted to like come in there, with the Discord server, you get the access to basically worldwide, other enthusiasts. So if you have a project and you need help, you can find partners, or you can their job board as well. So there are a lot of different things, ways so you can connect worldwide. So that's a good way to connect. All right. Seems like I took the picture, so let's go. Thank you to GitHub and the Agni, also ArcBlock, and the Cogzia for sponsoring today's event. And yeah, we have two very interesting speakers. So Greg from Cogzia, he's going to talk about the MCP server, and Robert will talk about the as a multi-agent AI development. So hopefully it's very, very interesting topic for you guys because it's definitely interesting to me. Before we get started, just a couple of house rules. GitHub has graciously, give us this space, and we are very grateful. But we also wanted to make sure that we find this place, leave it as we found it. So some of the house rules, so help us keep us help clean. And if you need anything, come talk to us, any of the community manager. And if you see any questionable behavior or just something, hey, that seems a little off, again, just come talk to us. Okay? With that, I'm going to actually bring up John from GitHub. He's right there. Of course. He's going to give a little bit of a highlights on the exciting features that GitHub is cooking up and actually released, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is hot off the press. Should be exciting.
All right.
Okay, cool.
All you.
Thank you. No, it is not. Now it's on. Okay. Wow, that's a lot of echo. As if I'm not loud enough as is. Hi, I'm John Peck, developer relations for GitHub. I see some familiar faces out there, so good to see you again. And thank you again for being part of the community, being here, creating all of the cool things, and using our GitHub stuff to make it happen. I want to show off a little thing that I think some of you have seen already, but I want to show you the new stuff on it. So I'm just going to do a quick review in case anyone hasn't seen it yet of what we're calling coding agent for GitHub, right? And here, just because it's a relatively long running thing, I'm just going to talk us through a little video because you don't want to sit here and wait 20 minutes. So you're used to using agent mode, hopefully inside an IDE, which sits with you as you code and lets you do awesome things across the entire code base. So here's the new hotness. What if you don't have to do it totally interactively? Because we all have those issues, right? Which are like small enough that we don't really need to supervise them in real time. We can just kind of say, hey, agent, go do this thing and then come back to me with the result. And after it's baked, then I'll tell you if it's good or not and whether I want to merge it, right? So for me, this is like eating up backlog. This is like, hey, I forgot to document the thing. I forgot to add tests for whatever. Okay, I make an issue. I check that issue. I say, go ahead and assign that to Copilot. And Copilot will take that on and it'll let me know, okay, I've seen it. I've built out a plan for what I actually want to do with this. I can go and I can look at its actual session and see what its thoughts are if I want. But most of the time, what I'm doing is I'm assigning off the issue to it, and then I'm coming back just to see it'll have converted the pull request that it builds out of that into a series of checkboxes, which are basically its plan for what it's going to do. And it's going to go through and it's just over time going to check off those checkboxes when they're ready. And then it's going to say, okay, this pull request is ready. If I think it's not good, I go in, I review the files, I check out the pull request. Maybe I open it up in a code space, try and play with it and see if it's actually going to be good. But if it's not, I just say, okay, these are the updates I want you to make. Write as a comment right there inside the pull request back to the agent. Think of this the same way you would when you're talking in chat and you're prompting back. It's just that I happen to be doing it through the pull request context. I can include things like images in there because it uses an image aware model behind it. Copilot says, okay, I saw that change. It'll update the pull request. Let me know what the new changes to the files are. I move forward or I don't with that. So that's a real quick review of agent mode on github.com, right? So here's the big news. Previously, we released this for enterprise users first, so they could get a first cut at it, try it out, give us feedback. A lot of the community wanted access to it and didn't have a way to do that. So what we've done is we've actually moved this feature now into the pro and business tiers. So pretty much whatever tier you are on, except for free, unfortunately, we just can't offer it under that because it takes too much compute. But any paid Copilot plan you're on, you're going to have access to utilize this with a variety of different capabilities under it. And because I know tonight is about MCP and agents specifically, I want to show you something I did with this because here's the thing not a lot of folks know yet. You can actually go into the settings of your repository. You can find this section called Copilot and then click down into Coding Agent. And Coding Agent is going to have all of the settings, all glorious one of the settings that you can set for Coding Agent on the server. So far, this will get bigger, obviously, right? But it's a pretty important one. It's MCP. So I can go in here, I can drop my MCP server settings here the same way I would in my settings JSON in VS Code. If you've got tokens that you need protected, you can actually put those into a special secrets section inside the repo and then reference them inside the MCP definition here. So there's no need to ever expose those tokens, right? They can be part of the repo privileges. And then I can do some cool things. In this particular case, what I did was I had a repo in one place, but all the tracking and management of it was actually in another repo for specific reasons, right? And so normally when I'm firing off Coding Agent, I can only interact in the repo that I'm working in for safety, right? But I wanted to give it the ability to read from another repo because I put in this request to do something. Copilot came back to me after Coding Agent ran for a while, and it said, hey, I changed it. I was a little bit confused. And I had to come back and say, no, you were actually supposed to change it in this other repo that I referenced. And it's like, well, I can't do that because I don't have access. So I went in, I added the MCP connection. I explicitly said then, okay, Copilot, now that I've added it, go and use MCP to access this other repo and pull the data. Sure enough, it was able to do that. and then provide me the actual fix based on the other repos information. So that's just a small example of what you can do with this. More often, you'll probably be doing database connections. You're probably doing external data references, that sort of thing. But now MCP is available. Coding agent is available. Go forth and prosper. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, at this time, we're going to bring up our first speaker, Greg Kostello, and then he's going to talk about how MCP unlocks AI agents. Come on up. And while he's setting up, by the way, John Peck, he's the DevRel extraordinaire. So if you guys, test out what he just said, always reach out, and if you have questions, like, how do I make this work? He loves those questions.
John, please speak on LinkedIn. Feel free to hit me up.
So again, I put right to share. One sec. All right. Yeah. There we go.
Sure, yeah.
No, I know.
Do you have a Zoom?
I do. All right, everybody can see that. Great. Thank you, everybody, and thanks for showing up on like a 90-degree day, which is so unusual. I'm melting here in the Northwest. Before I begin my presentation today, I want to ask some questions. So a lot of you showed up today. MCPs, we believe, are for everyone, but to gauge the audience here, how many of you are hardcore developers who develop every day? By raise of hands. Okay, about a third. Okay, so how many of you are using MCPs today? Almost all of those people are doing that, so that's awesome. How many of you are more tech adjacent, which is you're very interested in MCPs, maybe you don't develop every day, but you're very interested in learning about MCPs? By a raise of hands. That is the most of the audience. Good. I predicted it correctly. So, so this presentation does include about technology, but it's also meant as an introduction to the power of MCPs. So MCP is perhaps the worst name for something besides GPT, because no one can remember what GPT stands for, and probably no one will remember what MCP stands for. But MCP is how you're going to turn your LMs into doing something for you. If you think of LMs as the brains, MCPs are the brawn. You connect these things together. I also want to point out, I have a couple of my co-founder with me, as well as a principal engineer. Lana, could you raise your hand right there? There's Lana. So Lana has been working with AI for over 8 years now. She's worked a lot on the business side. So if you have a lot of business type questions, how these things work in the enterprise, Lana is a great person to talk to. We also have Jamin West, who's here. Jamin, can you stand up? Great. So Jamin and I work together to build out the platform. And that is something also today you don't see so much, or you wouldn't have seen 5 years ago. But now startups can start with just a couple people, and they can do amazing things. So this platform was built by just a few of us. Okay. So here's the problem we face, and this is the why of doing things. So most of our day is spent in the enterprise doing a lot of grunt work, a lot of things we don't want to do. How many of us have to go to Slack, have to go to Jira, have to go to email, have to go to GitHub, and looking and gathering data? No matter how good LMs are, the problem is that we have to then go to the LMs to put data in or extract it out. So that's really the challenge. If you could get rid of all this grunt work and use what we're great at, humans are great at, it really changes the potential. And if you can leverage AI, and not just be an engineer to leverage AI, but anybody can leverage AI, it makes it very powerful. And that's really what we're focused on. We're focused on making it enabling for anybody. So again, think of LMs as the brains. The brawn, let me talk about what I mean by that. So there's a lot of powerful tools. In fact, 95% of those powerful tools out there exist, but they don't have AI behind them. So we can think about a database. Super fast, super powerful, not really brainy. We can think about tools like Jira, which are great, but they don't really have a great AI baked in, not yet. But there's a ton of these tools, Slack, But Slack plus AI, that becomes very powerful. The trick is, how do you unlock that? How do you make it available? That's what we're going to talk about. So when you think about MCPs, it's about combining these things that we know and add intelligence to them. And when you do that, you have things like, imagine having a project system on autopilot that not woke up, but was there every morning, looked at all of your tasks that you have to do, had to figure out what was open, what the risks are, came to you. And when you woke up, here was your risk plan, everything that you have to deal with that morning. And then it came up with solutions, and you, as the human, decide what you're going to do. Market intelligence. How many of you are starting at small companies or even medium-sized companies where you're worried about the competition? Yeah. Well, I am. I mean, I'm part of a startup, so I worry about the competition all the time, especially in the AI space. So, we're busy building the company, but we really need this information. Wouldn't it be great if you had an agent that worked on your behalf, looked out there, knew about your company, knew about your competitors' work, and figured out how to give you the information you need and how to react? That's what an agent can do for you. Patient coordinator. Anybody work in healthcare? Few people. Okay. So just the act of getting all your patients lined up, coordinating with a doctor, all that stuff, what a pain. Wouldn't it be great if you had an agent working on your behalf? That's the kind of thing, the why of what you get with something like MCPs. They connect these old school systems to intelligence. Okay. So this is the way we see the evolution of work. Before, no AI, just a few years ago, it was all manual, right? And then AI came along and it went to 100 million users in just 1 month. That's how popular it is. There's about 1 billion people using ChatGPT every day. Think about how huge that is. So the great news is that now AI is accessible to everyone. The bad news is you're still stuck mostly in analysis mode, and you need to move to operation mode. You need to move to action. And that's what MCPs give you. They give you action to the thinking. Okay, so hypothetical. You have Sarah, who is a VP of product, and before she had to do all this monthly checking in. I mean, maybe you've experienced this, you're doing this all the time. Now with the new system, she can spend her time with people. I mean, think about the one thing AI doesn't do well. It doesn't do people well. So now she can spend time with people, with customers. She can work on tricky problems. That's what these give you. So that is the why behind it. So imagine you have a crisis. Anybody have crises at work? Yeah, we all do, right? You're laughing, right? Okay, exactly. We all have crises at work. How do you deal with it? Imagine you had agents working on your behalf to help you solve this, to gather data, to gather information. It would transform how you do work. Now, here's the thing. The agents aren't there to replace you. They're there to help you be better at your job. There's still work, particularly judgment work, that you need to do to figure out how to apply plans. I look at this example. Sometimes my agents come back and give me 3 great things to do, but I can only do one of them. And that's the choice of humans. As humans, we have to choose the thing that we need to do going forward. If you're using agentic development, you oftentimes will get suggestions. Anybody use Claude Code here? By a show of hands, a few of you. Okay. Or you use Cursor or Windsurf or any of those. Okay, great, more. Okay, if you do that, you're on the forefront of this. You know what this is like. The agents are doing a lot of work for you, but you still have to have the judgment. Also, agents can screw up. So you have to have the judgment to know when they're screwing up. So it's a great enabler. I would never go back to non-agentic development, but I'm still involved. I still have to make decisions. I still have to make choices. I still have to make trade-offs. So that's what they do for you. Okay. So you don't have to have just one agent working for you. You can have multiple agents working for you. The thing is, it depends on how complicated your job is. It depends what you have to do. If you need to do task switching, you may want an agent that's specifically designed. Imagine you could build an agent. If you're in charge, like Josh is, you have to do an event. Imagine having an agent work on your behalf to do all the event planning for you, to figure out who you should be speaking, to be coordinating with. All that could happen as an agent working for Josh to get it done, but he will make the choices about what the agent says. Okay. I'm going very fast. Does anybody have any questions at this moment? Okay, great. Okay. So again, if you think about our job, it was about gathering data. How many of you in your job have to spend a fair amount of time gathering data by a show of hands? Like almost all of you. Okay. How many of you by show of hands love gathering data? One person. Okay, good. Okay. I don't like gathering data. It's tedious. It's boring. It's almost never complete, right? The thing that these agents will do that that you would have trouble with is they have to be complete. Like, so for example, when we're doing competitive analysis, it's hard for me to track, especially in AI, all the different players. It's just overwhelming. And a lot of you are probably working in startups. So, but you're responsible. Your investors or your customers are going to ask you about the other companies. So how do you keep abreast of it? How do you make sure that you're staying on top of it? Well, agents can work on your behalf to do that. Okay. Now it gets down to brass tacks. Okay. How do you do this? So today, for the most part, if you want to do agentic development, you have to, and build agent-based, AI-based applications, you have to hire a team. And that's just the reality of it. Why? Because there's so many things to know and the field is moving so fast. But what if you just want to build a few agents for your organization? You want to build an agent for yourself. How do you do that and make it productive and play with it and try it out? That's where Cogzia comes in. Okay. So I started my career at Apple, and at Apple, our mission was really about making technology available to everyone. Their mission has kind of changed over time, but in the early days, the whole idea was that everybody should be able to use a computer. Then the idea was that everybody should be able to use a smartphone and make it useful for them. But over time, they become a big company. But I think we're now back to a time where it's new again, and AI is the most exciting thing. It's no longer iPhones. So how do you make this work? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it as easy to make an agent as it is to use ChatGPT. Okay, so building with Cogzia is just by describing what you want to build. And after this, I'm going to show you a video demo of me building something today. So it's about combining a couple of technologies together. First of all, it has to get those different servers. Remember, servers are the brawn. So those are the things you want to connect to. Let me give you a simple example of why you need an agent or you need something underneath the hood. Have you ever used like ChatGPT or any of the others and find it thinking it's 2023 or 2024 by a show of hands? You're like, yeah, you're like, what? I think you're supposed to be smart. Well, that's because the models stop training, and that's like they're stuck on Groundhog Day. That's the thing. That's the time they think it is. So imagine you had a little agent that just made sure it knew what time it was. And so it had the right date and it had that information. That's the kind of thing that you can do with a little MCP server. It will just always have the right information. How about search? You guys remember the days before these ChatGPT had search? Yeah, it was pretty dumb, right? You had to go find the things and copy it into ChatGPT or find the PDFs. Now they've added search. Thank you very much. But if you're building an agent, you would like search too, right? You'd like to search the web. You'd like to scrape the data. So with ours, you can do just that. In fact, what we think about is MCP, see what a terrible acronym. Okay, so MCP servers are there to give more functionality. And not only will you be able to use the ones we provide, especially for your developers out there, you can develop your own MCP servers and drop them in. So the idea is you can extend it, or you need privacy or security. You don't want to expose what's going on. You put your own MCP server, you can use it with our platform. Okay, so we are big fans of developers as well, but I really want to talk to the non-developers. Again, our whole function is to make it easy for you to create agents, just how you felt with ChatGPT, where you could suddenly use AI. Believe it or not, most people never used AI before ChatGPT, or at least they didn't think they did. But once they got exposed to ChatGPT, they liked how powerful that was. So this is a lot for them, but also for developers. We believe that you should have access to all the data we use. So when we do it, we create a manifest for techie folks. That's just how you would build the system yourself. You can run it entirely on your own infrastructure if you wish to. You can dissect the code. So the whole idea is that this is built for you. We ourselves, we're dog fooding it. You haven't heard that term, it means we eat our own dog food, we use our own stuff. We really believe that this system should be available for any of you to use and use the way you want. Okay, I'm going to skip that. Okay, before and after, good. Okay, did anybody miss the QR code at the beginning? Okay, if anybody's interested and you're interested in joining the wait list for the application, just click there and sign up. We'll notify you as soon as it's available. Okay, and then I'm just going to do a quick video demo. It takes just a couple of minutes, we'll be done. Also, if you missed this, just find us afterwards. We'll show you how to do that. Okay, let me go ahead, put on my glasses, because I can't see without them. Okay, let me go ahead to share. Just 1 second and we'll be done. All right, this is the quick video demo. You guys are going to see it, the first to see it in the world. It's not very exciting unless you use Cloud Code, because Cloud Code is how we use terminal apps, but you'll get the gist of it. So to use it, you just use a terminal. And if you don't like using terminals because you're a regular person, we'll have a full web SaaS interface for this. Okay, is it going? You good? All right. Okay. So, but very similar to the web, you'll have an interface. It'll ask you what you want to build. You can type in anything, any kind of app you want to build from this. So I don't know why it's so slow. Unfortunately, that will sort of obscure it. I don't know what is going on. Password. Okay, great. Oh, okay. So remember before I said you couldn't, it didn't know what time it was. It didn't know how to search things. It's kind of bad if you have an agent that doesn't know how to do these things. So I'm asking it to build me an agent that has this capability. And all I do is say, build me an agent that does this. And you can ask all kinds of things to it. Like you might want to connect to Jira, you might want to do other things, but keep it simple. I'm doing that. So I'll ask it to build this. It's going to think about it. I'm going to fast forward. It figures out which MCP servers to use. So we've created a curated list. There's a lot of issues around security and stability of MCP servers. So there's about 10,000 out there. We're going to curate it down to about a couple hundred. So these are ones that you can stand by if it's like Jira or things like that you want to use, or GitHub. So it's going to tell you, let me just pause here for the techie people. It's going to create a really good prompt designed to be used for the use inside of MCP clients and hosts. So this is an important thing. You don't have to figure this out. It's really designed to do that. If you don't like that prompt, you can, of course, replace it with your own. You can iterate if you don't like what it says, but it's designed here to make it super easy. And then you would ask it to, like, what's the name of the app you want to build? It will then build it for you and does all that work for you. And then you can use it. Like, this is how easy it is. It's just in a couple minutes, you're going to build an agent. You're going to ask it to do something. And I don't know if you can see at the bottom there, but I'm asking it, hey, what's the current date and time in Seattle? And to tell you, I just did this a couple hours ago. It's going to go ahead and process that. It's going to get the results. And then it's going to give it to you. Okay. And then it gives you, because I had search also, I asked it to add search to this. It's going to tell you what else you could do, the other places you could go and get that content from. So it's current. So that's all there is to it. It's that simple to build your own apps. You can then use them internally, or you could use them externally. Any questions? Yes.
What?
So you for the
So basically,
servers?
the question is what LLM you are using,
Oh,
or
yes.
API? Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
yes.
I have more questions, but I'll let you answer that one.
Okay. So we use Claude today, but it's model agnostic. So if the models support,
I have a quick suggestion. Can you
Yes.
try with Llama 4? Because it has like long context and it's going to help you with this. I think you have like a latency problem, and it's moving a little slow.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely, this is not optimized. There's a lots of things
Yeah,
that
yeah.
could go on if they're faster. It's not streaming either. We have a version like in a couple hours it'll be streaming. It's literally like we're just sort of building this goes.
And
But
another question would be, did you create the MCPs?
we did. We created some of the MCPs, but for example, for the Brave search, we
Mhm.
got that from the internet. So we actually have a thing that scrapes and then evaluates the different MCPs that are out in the public domain.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Yes.
Hang on.
I was just curious because I started tinkering around with N8N recently, and I was wondering how this like compares with N8N or other platforms like that.
So NAN, you think about is a flow like you're doing step by step. This is all agentic. So it is all based on using MCPs and using the built-in logic and understanding of the LLMs. And the reason why we chose that, we actually did in my past life, we did workflows. That's what these are. Who wants to manage a workflow? I don't want to manage a workflow. It's a pain in the ass. So, and again, I spent a lot of my time doing that. The beauty of workflows is that they're predictable. The bad thing is they're brittle. So the minute anything changes, it's just like maintaining code. And for our target audience, they just want something that works, right? And it will actually get better as the LMs get better. Great question, though. Thank you. Yes.
Follow up. I had that before. You said brittle, but how would you handle, or do you have a plan to handle brittleness and debugging and kind of how would you do that?
So part of this is we again, eating our own dog food, we use evals to evaluate the output. We will then also evaluate anything that goes wrong with it and try to autocorrect it. However, we know that LMs screw up. So if you were a developer, you would be able to see all the code that was developed to create the agents. Are you a developer? Okay, great. So you see the manifest, you'll see the things, you'll see the prompt, you'll see how it was created. We have tried to stay true to the protocol, which means that there is a pristine host that gets created. There's a client to spec that gets created. The servers are all validated. So in theory, if all those things are perfect, and that's what we're using, it shouldn't screw up. But that's in theory. So we know as developers, that's not always true. So if things actually do break, you have a chance to go in there and fix it. So does that answer your question? Great. Yes.
Yeah, similar question. So you are going to generate an MCP. My problem with right now MCP is people write those with so much verbose instructions, and it's eating me a token like crazy. And you mentioned the eval right now. It's more like as a developer, I need to compare the result myself. So it's not like you. Do you have a plan to provide like some tooling to make this easier? Because if it's just with this, I feel like, sorry, just that question. Like
Okay.
Any eval, yeah.
Great question. Everybody hear that? So if you want to have, like, I want to see it myself, I'm a developer. I like to say that Jamin and I are like, we're the ICPs. We don't trust anything. Like, we want to see the code. So first of all, it's a great point. I don't think we have that immediately, but I can see putting it on our near-term roadmap. So the idea I would think was this: you would have APIs you could directly access the output from as well. So then you could drive it, you could try different prompts and drive the output, feed that into your own process, and then change it. Right. So if you don't like what we produced, you have the opportunity to intersect and do it. In fact, when you see the output, you'll be like, ding, ding, ding. It'll make a ton of sense to you what was done, but it also gives you the opportunity to change it as you wish. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I will hope it's if you make it simpler, the whole data the flywheel thing. If you make it simpler, I will love it.
Yeah.
I will pay more to let you to improve it yourself. And then
All right, you heard that, Lana. You heard that. You pay more. So I think just sort of building what you're saying, I think it'd be great to have a completely headless version, meaning you just drive it by APIs. Then you can see the data output as you wish, feed it back in, and then create that flywheel loop. Awesome. Okay, that was very nerdy, but I love the nerds here because I'm one of them. Okay, anybody have a nerdy or not nerdy question? Yes.
I just so what are the highest priority if you think about your roadmap long term, and you can keep it as high level or as low level as you want, what are kind of the highest priorities we're thinking about? How, like, what's this going to look like in a quarter, maybe a year or so?
You know, I think it's hard to
For
see
our
how to
plan,
u-
or yeah, I know
or
it's
a
hard to
quarter-
say,
a quarter
or like,
two I can see.
I guess
but,
how
yeah.
should we like how should we think about the capabilities you're most focused on right now?
I think it's making it bulletproof. I think the biggest challenge I've seen using this and developing is we see so many POCs get developed and they never get deployed. And they never get deployed because they fall apart under sort of load. And so we want to just make it so it's so simple. And I think, you know, I was actually initially inspired by tools like Replit or Lovable. Any of you guys use those? What I loved about them first was, man, I could get a website up in no time. I'm not a designer. I have trouble drawing stick figures, but like this got me up in no time. The problem and the failure with all of these is it gets me 70% of the way. And then I'm like, well, I want to change this. I want to change that. You can't use the same interface. So we keep it super simple. We focus on what we can do really well. We'll scale those things. I believe you should be able to use our system without any problem as a layman, modify it as a layman and have it still work for you. That's what we're focused on. Great, thank you. Great question. You have time for one more? Yes. Oh, hi. Like Cogzia? Yeah. Oh, but this is I'm sorry, this is a video demo, but yes. But it's Cogzia. I hope it was spelled right. But we have been in stealth mode. So literally, this is the first time we're presenting this to the world. So we haven't like done any SEO, search engine optimization, or anything like that. So it's a little hard to find. But if you go to that QR code, you'll find it. It's not indexed yet. It's like nothing.
So, second question.
Yeah, maybe that just answered my question, but what are your clients most likely, or what are your clients currently using this for?
So we just started, but we talked to a bunch of people before we kind of ventured out. Like the smart thing, if you ever do a startup, is like, do not drink your own Kool-Aid until you talk to people. So, so in fact, we did switch gears a bunch of times along the way before we came up with this one. What we found was in talking to sort of small to medium-sized businesses is they were struggling with AI. They wanted to do AI. Maybe the CEO given a mandate, everything has to be AI, but they needed to do AI, and they like, I can't pay for these, you know, very expensive engineers in AI. What can I do? And then in our past job, we also, the co-founders, we saw people struggling using AI a lot. Things would get to a certain point and flounder. And you had to have sort of very expensive teams like we had to get anywhere. So we're really trying to focus on making it super simple, super easy to get to use. And what they're saying is that's what they want. They just want the easy button. They want to be able to do AI without having to be AI experts. Does that answer your question? Do you have a follow-up?
So your process automates the creation of an MCP that companies want to use in order to
So for example, here's one. They have a bunch of data that's sitting in a database that's got unstructured data.
okay.
I'm going to keep it very loose so I don't violate any laws. Okay, so here's the thing. They had a team, they're not experts at AI. So I looked at their problem and I'm like, oh yeah, we can do this in like 2 weeks, right? And they're like, what are you going to charge? And I gave them the number and they're like, no. Okay, I said, wait. And I describe what we're building. And they're like, you mean we can use it? I'm like, yeah, because they're really good at software. They're not really good at AI. And so if we can bring the AI component to this and make it easy for them, it probably is going to be a couple of days. It's not going to be 5 minutes, but it's going to be a couple of days of work. Why? Because they know their data really well, but they don't know how to use AI. And so if we can mesh that together and make it easy for them, that's a huge win for them.
So this would be for companies that don't know how to use their data.
No, they know how to use their data, but not in an AI way. They don't know how, like they were trying to figure out how similar some crash logs were. That was an example. And so they didn't understand, because the traditional crash logs, so if you ever use Windows or like that, those things crash, boom, they had all this data coming in, but they had no context. And they wanted to figure out, like, how could they use this information? And I'm like, well, I can tell you how to do that, and I can do that work. And they're like, oh, that's expensive. And I said, okay, so wait for us to come out with this. And I would tell you, I think they can solve this problem in just a couple of days, because they know their data, they know the AI, a couple conversations, and they would figure it out. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And I think a lot of people are like that. They want to use AI, they get it in general, they're not experts, they don't know how to do it.
All righty.
Thank you so much.
Any other question?
Will,
Greg, you're going to be here after the talk too, right?
I'm going to be here, Jamie will be here, Lon will be here, we'll all be here to answer your questions. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions brave souls wanted to ask? All right.
Scalability.
Yes.
How well can it be scaled? So you mentioned small to medium businesses, but what about enterprise? Can they use this tool and it won't break?
Yeah, so we use Kubernetes underneath the hood. We scale fully within Kubernetes. So you can allocate as much as you want. You could even have a private like space in that. In fact, my suggestion, if you were really trying to do that, is we would show you how, and you would just have it installed in your own Kubernetes infrastructure, right? So therefore, you get to be responsible for the scaling. But the idea is, so I spent my time before this in past life doing a lot of architecture. I've been working with AWS since before AWS was even cool. Not this cool anymore. But anyway, the point is that like we designed this to be scalable from day one. So we even use infrastructure as code for deployment, management of the system, even though we're just a couple people. Hopefully that answers your question.
It did. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Going once, going twice. All right. Thanks, Greg. That was a
Thank you.
great example of actually using AI to create AI tooling.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right. At this time, we're going to bring up Robert, and he's going to talking about the actual building multi-agent system in production.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Robert. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called ArcBlock. So that's a long time ago, right? So my story here is I used to work for Microsoft Research, and on year 2013, I quit Microsoft and go to the startup journey. And eventually, finally, on year 2017, I settled and find my journey to work on the blockchain and the decentralized applications. So that's ArcBlock. So what ArcBlock does is we're building a platform to help developers to build blockchain applications, decentralized identifiers, and help developers to build, deploy, and run applications. But as a startup and as a nerdy, I always kind of get distracted. Something that really get me distracted is on year 2023, I get into the ChatGPT. When I see the ChatGPT, I really, wow, this is so cool, right? So I'm keep thinking, other than let ChatGPT write these rumors, write the poems, or this kind of interesting things for me, what can I do with it, right? Because during the time, ChatGPT still have a lot of those hallucination problem. Eventually, on 23, I get into this side project. I actually built this. This is an astrologist. It's actually a real large language model astrologist, and we get into the product hunt in the #2 on that day. Actually, until now, you can still download this, and still there's tens of thousands of people are using this. Every day there are hundreds more people using this. So that was a side project, but that get me interested in to understand how to use large language model and use its advantage, and how to turn its hallucination from a bug into a feature, because astrology is all about hallucination or creativity on the language. I don't know how many of you see my talk here, right here in December of 2023. Anyone here? No? Okay, so it was in AI Camp. By the end of this year, I decided, so, okay, shoot. the side project goes so well. So I really need to turn this into something that's more serious, right? Otherwise, every time I come to a talk and people look at me, what, you are an astrologist? I say, yes, I'm serious astrologist. And actually, I made a lot of real astrologer friends. And one of the women who is a very good astrologist, and she's a good friend with me. And I joined his podcast and talk with other astrologists and let my AI to do the same analysis at the same time. And everybody agree that I'm doing pretty good. You can still download that from the App Store. So on 2023, I decided to turn this into something more kind of a concrete, more kind of matching my nerdy style. So I decided to open up the core that I used to build this astrologist application and turn into some kind of a thing that everybody can use. So first time I here announced the name of the project called Aging. So during that time, I'm planning to create this as a large language model ops tools, which is basically because when we run this aging, I constantly run into a lot of issues. What is performance? Is the AI doing something right thing, or is there is something wrong? I need to improve the prompt. I badly needed this tool, but these tools are not available. So we have to build these in-house tools, and we build this, and we are looking for this kind of private beta users. So that's why at that time I come to this talk and I introduce to everybody this large language model ops tools. Apparently not a lot of people interested, but everybody interested in the astrology, because at that night I see a spike. A lot of people download it. But I look at my aging sign up, there's basically like 10 or very few people sign up for that ops. But end up that talk was really, really helpful, because eventually there's a woman and another VC contact me, and they are super interested in what I'm building. And after a few sort of a talk with them, they actually give me some suggestions, say, Robert, don't spend time to build these tools because it's really hard and it's probably not going to make a lot of money. And how about go back to your track to turn your framework into something to help people build applications. So that's turned out, eventually I built this for aging. So this was released last May. So that's finally turned this aging from my hobby project into one of the incubated from my current ArcBlocks company. So the aging we released last year is a no-code tool. So basically anybody can easily create agentic applications by drag and drop different components, so you can see all those kind of different applications. So this leverage ArcBlock's platform, so the users, they can quickly can click and build without writing any code. They can deploy some applications quickly. So this, our community really like it. There's hundreds of applications already built by the developers. And last year, we also sponsored one of the hackathon called a DIF hackathon, which is a Linux Foundation hackathon. There's hundreds of people attended. There are 25 projects created with aging, and some of them win the grand prize with aging no code. So that is a pretty good result. But we, as a company that is using aging as our own framework and to build the AI features within our product, we're not feel that satisfied at all, because no code sounds very impressive that everybody can build something with AI, but the reality is you cannot really build a serious product. So if we look at the hundreds of applications our community built, all of them this kind of chatbot. It's either interpreted a dream or your virtual girlfriends or virtual boyfriends to chat with you. But we want that to be kind of more serious, right? So so I kind of keep doing my kind of entrepreneurship defocus, and then we built this project called ArcSpheres. So the good news is, if any of you are not very nerdy to like my terminal demos later, you can play with this. This is already in the App Store. It's called ArcSpheres. You can search in iOS App Store or Google Play Store. This is a AI native browser, mobile browser. So basically you can browse the internet and browse the web. There's always an AI agent or kind of co-browse with you, do the summary with you, help you answer your questions. You can also use the AI to let it interpret what's the meaning for this browsing. This is extremely useful for me. You see, I'm not a native English speaker, but I'm active on Twitter. So I like to tweet a lot. And in the past, all of my followers say, Robert, your tweet is great, but your English really sucks. It's like it's like you like from somebody from kindergartens, right? But I say, no, I want to tweet myself to be authentic, right? So that's me. But eventually I fixed this problem because now I'm using Oxfairs. So every time when I do the tweet, when I write the tweet, the Oxfare automatically take over the input box and use the code language model to refine the tweet for me. And sometimes I get kind of I get nervous when I chat with people. I write something that is not polite, use some F word or something. The AI automatically kick in and turn them into very polite and very nice way to match as a CEO of the company. So, so I should do so many of this is basically say we are building the Age Astro, the astrologist, and we're building the aging no-code studio, and also we're building this Oxfare. They're all backed by the framework I'm going to show, which is we just open sourced that everybody can take advantage of what we have learned in the past 2 years to build productive large language model applications. So that's actually the secret. We're now open source it. So, so my rest of the talk is a little bit boring because I'm trying to guide you through to check this GitHub repo and try to run a few live demos and hopefully it's not break. And if any of you are like code or interested in to learn the code, you can basically follow our Git repo to run all those examples very easily, and you can get to understand what's the principle we are building into this framework, and also imagine how this could be helpful for you to build your new AI applications. So basically, what's an agent framework? In simple, agent framework is right now, this is the very high level architect of the agent framework. Agent framework itself is actually the code. So it's not that visible, but all the code are in the GitHub repo. But what really visible to you is one thing is the Agent Studio. So that's something that you can already try from the agent.io. That is a no-code tool for you to build simple applications. Or that could be a very useful tool for you to do the prompt engineering, because you want to write the prompt. Prompt is all about the text, right? So you want to write the prompt. You don't need to compile every time. You can use a studio to refine your prompt and turn them into something that is you expected. The other two things are something I'm going to demo. One is called Agent CLI, which is a command line. I really love command line. So in the command line, so it looks boring, but it's super powerful. And the last part is called agent observability. I don't know how many of you know observability is. Cool. A bunch of you know that. But for anybody who don't know what it is, you don't worry, because you're going to see it. It's like magic. This is kind of like something that I want to build from the first time, like 2 years ago, but some people suggest me don't do that. But now I still bring this back as a free tools. So anybody who uses a framework going to have it. So our framework has a few interesting design principles. One interesting is called we are TypeScript native. How many of you use TypeScript or JavaScript? Great. So most of those AI framework, they're Python based, and but very few of them are TypeScript based. So we are a TypeScript native framework. The reason why we picked TypeScript, the first reason, because I used to work for Microsoft. I'm actually belong to the first few people who use TypeScript. But actually, that's not the main reason. The main reason you use TypeScript is because if you use TypeScript to write your agent, that means your agent can not only run on your server side, but also run on any browser tabs, run on your mobile device. You're going to have your AI agent run anywhere across your devices, across the edge. And the agent framework, another different for our agent framework, the communication between our agent are based on pub sub channels. It's public substring channels. That base means on the different devices, agent can talk to another agent. So my agent in my browsers can talk to a server agent and back and forth. This is super important from the ArcBlock point of view. Why? Because ArcBlock is essentially, we are a decentralized application company. We really care about privacy, data decentralization. Imagine if you're using ArcSpheres, you're browsing some interesting website. If everything, your AI is sending all your data to some of the centralized service, now the AI know what you are browsing. You could potentially enter some, credit cards, some critical information there. How do you know those AI agent is not collecting data that you are not wanted? Right? So with our design, so in ArcSpheres, the AI agent in ArcSphere, some of the data, some of your information never leave your device. It's an AI agent on your device, but when it needs to call some kind of service on the server side, is actually another agent on the server side going to join the work, so it works together. The third key features that I think that is worth to mention is ArcSpheres. So our agent framework is we call that functional framework because we get inspired from the functional programming, because functional programming is basically means everything is a function. Right? So in the agent framework, everything is an agent. There's nothing else but the agent. You want to have like different large language model support, it's agent. Right? So there's an LLM agent, there's AIGC agent. You want to connect to a database is the agent. You want to write a function, do this function call or to use, their agent. With MCP is the agent. Everything is the agent. We just simplified everything. Everything is done to the agent. And the whole architect is basically the agent dance together. So as somebody from Microsoft, I think Microsoft still did a lot of good jobs. So one key feature that I'm really proud is the agent support all those kind of workflow patterns. So this pattern is not invented by us. This is a pattern I borrowed from one of the very valuable paper called AutoGen by Microsoft Research. And they summarized a few of those kind of typical agentic patterns for all those workflow. We try to support every single workflow in our framework. That basically means if you like those patterns, for example, you need this kind of routers that some agent decided what to do for the next agent, you have it. Right? If you want to have a task, like anybody uses this kind of menu, so I want to search a website and the website do a lot of research, do this kind of deep research for you and then do the summary. So you have this kind of workflow automatic handle to you. You don't need to drag and drop or define, write code, a lot of this kind of workflow to determine all those cases because AI can do that for you. That's called agentic workflow. And so on our website, we have all those kind of definition and a diagram to show you what the work looks like. And also have this code. You can go click it there and run by yourself. You see the code, usually it's just like tens of lines of code. But you can see quickly for you to understand what those kind of patterns means. An important thing is the MCP. So thanks for Greg for have a great introduction of MCP. MCP is amazing. So we have built-in MCP support. First of all, we can make it very easy to use MCP servers. So I'm going to demo a few things, a few MCP servers I can immediately use with just a few lines of code. And moreover, you can implement your own MCP servers just by use a few lines of code. You can, because everything is an agent, so any MCP method you're going to expose is actually an agent. You can basically define a bunch of agents, do all those things, and then you pick a few agents, say, I want to expose this MCP method, and that's going to expose just with a few lines of definition. On this kind of a Git repo, we have this kind of package. One important thing is this kind of examples. On those examples, I have all those kind of examples. Each of them, you can click in and have the very clear instruction for you to how to run it. The only requirement is you need to install the Node.js correctly on your computers. So it need to be Node.js 20.0 and a plus. And also you need an OpenAI API key, or you can have like other API keys. We do support like OpenAI, Anthropic, a lot of other API keys. And but the demo, I use OpenAI. So for the quick start, you don't need to install anything. You just need to kind of export your API keys, and then you just run this kind of one command line in your terminal, and it's going to work. So let me see. For example, for here. So this is the simplest demos that is called a quick chatbot, right? So I just run it, right? So the chatbot said, "How can I assist you today?" You see this all the time in ChatGPT because this is a super simple application. You might ask, what's the difference? I see all of those kind of demos everywhere. It's just like hello world, right? But what's makes it different here is, first of all, you see in the console, we have give you very clear information what it does, right? For example, it invoke the agent chat, which is the chat agent, and then it's going to invoke an agent called memory retrievers that is help you to retrieve what this agent is supposed to know about you or know about the background. And then it's going to invoke the OpenAI chat model. It's an agent that actually called the OpenAI, right? And eventually, if you have something to remember, it's going to invoke another agent called the memory recorders. In case there's something that it was to write it down, it's going to automatically save to your memory. So this is a super simple examples. And if I show the code here, we can see the code here. The code here is really simple. So it's basically just this one. It's called a agent YAML. So this is like basically this is like a DSL for us to define AI agent. So this is also kind of compatible with our no-code tool. So for any no-code tool, you define the prompt, you define the agent, is going to generate these YAML files. And the best thing is this YAML files agent can be mixed and matched with the code agent. For example, in this agent folders, we have this chat agent. This is very simple. So you can see the prompt is basically say you're a helpful agent. You can answer any questions, and it's going to use a large language model to do the return. And there's another code agent. This is a little bit more complicated example as I'm going to show later. So basically, these two agents, they can work together to get this answer. And you might ask, what's unique for this part? And so this is from the command line, you see a little bit, but we are not stopped there, right? So something important is called observability. So if you install agent framework, so there's a command line called agent. So one specific useful command line is called this agent observe. Once you run agent observe, it's going to tell you that it has run observability servers on this local host on my computer, right? So from here, I can go to my web browser and I open up this URL. You're going to see there is a web page. Going to see there's already, I run it twice, and if I click on this, you can instantly see, okay, good. So this is exactly what happened behind the scenes. When you write your code, your AI agent kick in, and then your memory agent kick in, and your OpenAI model call is happening here, and the memory recorder agent is happening here. It also shows you how many input token you have, and it's actually how much money it costs you to run this, right? And how many output token and total tokens and how much cost you have, right? And so this is called observability. So I think this is for me, this is the biggest trouble when I write large language model applications. I don't know what happened on the back end. I don't know if my prompt is correct because large language model has these problems. It's not every time it gives you consistent answers, right? And especially when you have this kind of multiple agent, especially this agentic agent, you don't actually know what this agent is doing with so many different agents calling here and there. When you have MCP, your problem is going to be even bigger because you're going to have an MCP server probably provide you hundreds of different methods. You don't even know what has sent to your OpenAIs, what has been called, and what is the result, right? So the observability is a tool that helps you to clearly let you see what's happened behind the things. So there's other observability tools. For example, you need to install, you need to buy, you need to send the data to them. But we think this is not a great idea. The best idea is build this inside within your framework. So on my server, on my own computers, everything is logged. So this is not only log the data of the large language model, but also send me all those data for calling the MCP, doing a lot of other stuff. Let me show you like something like is more complicated example. Let me do a MCP server for a database. Okay. Here is a quick example that this is just a few lines of code that are using the SQLite MCP servers to run this agent. So what behind is calling, it's discovered one of the SQLite, which is a SQL database, MCP, and then the large language model going to take advantage of the SQLite database MCP server. And first time when it went wrong, it create one of the example database in the back. And for example, right now I can say show all the tables. So you can see the AI going to automatically decide what SQL statement to write, and then it's going to execute the SQL statement and get the result back and turn that into something that you can understand. It better tell me that right now the table has a customer service request, and so let's use observability to see what happened behind the scenes. So the first step when I run this command, you see it initialize and do a lot of things, and so this is what happened. So in this, when this agent started, is actually populated the prompt from the MCP servers. So that prompt in that SQLite MCP servers have a prompt to help the AI to automatically create a Xample database. So it has a lot of created tables. For example, right now in this create table, you can see the SQL statements that is generated. That is by AI. AI know how to write a SQL, and AI know there's database. So AI writes this SQL statement, and AI run it, execute it, and the database tell you that there's no error. The table has been created, and AI decided to create a bunch of tables. Eventually, AI decided to generate some mock data, and it write a SQL data to insert to this data to the database. It actually executed a bunch of those SQL statements. Eventually, it initialized the database and with the mock data. And now I just asked list all the tables. So there's a MCP tools. The MCP tool exactly know there is a function to call to list all the tables. So it's very straightforward. So you can see from this observability, you can also see this is how AI works. So first it called the OpenAI chat model. This is called the function call. The first step of the function call. It tells the large language model, here is a tools that I have. You can see there's a lot of tools. That is mostly from the MCPs. So there's tons of tools. And then the AI decided, okay, I need to call this list table functions. And then, so the framework call this function call for you. And after the function call is called, I get the result and send the result back to the large language model. So the model going to send you human readable informations. Right? For example, if you use database, you do the SQL query, the SQL statement is automatically right for you. The data that is, you typically see that from the command line is going to automatically format to something that you can read. And you can do a lot of interesting stuff, right? But since we don't have enough time, so I can do something really interesting stuff. It's a drop all tables. It actually works, right? Because this is a demo app, so it didn't do anything. So basically, there's a new SQL statement that is asking to drop all those tables. So this is the anti-pattern that you should never do that in your real production, but I just demo this anyway for fun. So basically, AI don't know. If you don't tell AI what not to do, AI going to do it, right? So come back to here, people, you might think, okay, shoot, writing the AI application sometimes is so painful because how do I know I should not tell user do this, right? What if there's a customer's name is table, and what happened, right? So usually you have to write a lot of prompts to kind of to guide rail your AI, so not do this, not do that, and also potentially you can do that in your MCP tools. You'll never expose those kind of dangerous APIs to your applications. But something that's really valuable, interesting, and good news for agent framework, we built this special agent called a guide rail agent. This is just an agent. This is an agent called a guide rail. And on the guide rail agent, you just define some rules that you're supposed not to say. For example, in my tweet, I have a guide rail tools, never say F word or N word, right? So no matter how I do, how my little agent do, eventually it's not going to generate that because that guide rail going to kick in. So for this database application, you can totally write those guide rails at anything that is going to kind of completely destroy the database. Don't do it, right? So then you can write the application so easily, and but because you know that you have the guide rails to ensure that there's like loss defense that we're not going to happen. So this is something that we built for in our framework. Why we're building this? Because we have this guy Astro, and we constantly worry about people saying like a suicide or this problem. So how to do it, right? So eventually we figure out we need to have these guide rails to ensure no matter what, no matter how many bullshit is sending, it's not going to say something that is bad or sensitive. Right. Am I out? Do I run out of time? Okay. So yeah, so I only show you 2 demos, but actually I, on my website, I basically have like tens of demos. I could use like whole night to demo one by one. But the good news is each of those demos, you can exactly follow our README, which is, by the way, this is automatically translated from Chinese by our own AI agent. If there is some typos, it's not my fault, right? It's AI's fault. But you can follow all of those quick start, and you can run it and it sense it what it looks like. Even you're not developers, all you need to do is learn a little bit on how to install Node.js on your computer, and then you can just follow this just 2 command line. You can get everything running, and then you can eventually install the source code and change a little bit. Don't worry to break it. You can change it, and then you can get the whole thing working. So we have all those kind of different workflow with a quick example that are running. We also have this MCP, using MCP and simple or complex and examples. Yeah, so one cool thing that I really want to use a last few minutes to is called this. I think this workflow is really interesting, called code execution. Because a lot of people like the cloud code or cursors. So this is the simplest, probably this is the 10 lines version of this writing implement cursor, but on JavaScript. And in this example, it's going to let the AI to write a JavaScript code for you. This JavaScript can run in a special agent called a sandbox agent. So it's not going to break your whole system. And it turns the result and it's going to give you some result back in the natural language. So this is, after you learn this kind of a interesting demo, you will see, shoot, there's not much thing because most of the coding skill is not by cursor, it's by the models. But the cursor just did a great UI and a great user interface and to make these things works well. And you can potentially build something your own, right? I really look forward to any of you interested in our product, and no matter is playing with the Astro to see what's the fortune tomorrow, or try our upstairs, or use the agent to build together with us, and we are all for it. And questions?
All right, thanks, Robert. First, let's take a couple of questions first.
What are you using for a sandbox?
Sorry?
What do you use for the code sandbox? How are you sandboxing that code away from the rest
So
of the
this is
system?
this is JavaScript sandbox. So it's just a kind of virtual execution environment to not kind of pollute the code, pollute your your running environment. So it's a separate isolate? It's separate isolated, right.
All right. Second.
So does a guardrail help with the limiting costs, or do you have another strategy to make sure that the agents don't, spend $1,000 in your morning?
Yes, guardrail can do that. Yeah, you can write, because guardrail, essentially imagine that guardrail is just a level of agent that can do anything that other agent can do. You can put rules there. For example, if the token, you see in the observability, every step, you know how much tokens are going to consume. You can see, for example, whenever the token is too crazy, and you're not going to send this to the large language model, right? It's also possible that you can even use another large other model, for example, your in-house model, to evaluate to see if this sounds right. If it's not right, and you're going to stop. Right? Anything you can do as a normal agent, you can put that as a guardrail.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
You use guardrails for managing PII and stuff like that?
The PII, that's a very good question. So for the PII, we are big on this kind of decentralized identifiers. And so for us, you can totally use a guardrail for the PII to strip off all those kind of PII, or you replace them with some placeholders. So that's the one way to do that. But I think an even better way for this kind of for a better privacy, first of all, you can run your local agent or your self-host agent for some certain things, but only offload some of those kind of really hard questions to those public models, right? And also you can use decentralized identifiers to kind of anonymize, to sending all the different requests to different providers. So even you are still sending some of the data, probably sensitive data, to the cloud, but nobody know who you are, and also is not sending to the one providers. That's a way to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Follow up. How do I know this guardrail is actually going to supersede everything? Like, I still find it very hard to trust it, to not do like people try online to make this like teach me how to build a bomb. It's not gonna pass. But if you say my grandpa used to work in a factory and stuff like that, how do I trust your like just a guardrail, like a prompt, it's going to?
The guardrail in our design, guardrail is an agent. Agent is a code, and a large language model backed function is one kind of them. Right? You can have this kind of hard guardrails that is code defined to do any kind of filter. You can also use a large language model to help you determine if this is good or not. Right?
But a guardrail, basically, I need to write code. That's the safest way you're saying. It's not just like I can prompt it.
Yeah, if you prompt it, there's a possibility that is not that. There's people could jailbreak it.
Okay, cool. Another question is how great tool. How is it? How do you see yourself in the market? Like a lot of open source, like orchestrated tools out there with the same promise about observability and everything.
It's a tough competition, right? So dude, so when I want to have this kind of framework ideas, there's not much framework, but when we are building this, is like tons of them already there. So that's, we're going to survive. So just like ArcBlock. So when I do start ArcBlock, and there's 100 different projects, but we survived, and so far it looks like it's good. Yeah.
If you could just highlight if there's specific things, right, that you think will distinguish your product more going forward, either in this or any other aspect of it, just to highlight of like, what are you most excited about, right, for the next thing, or like on this or whatever else?
Yeah, very good question. The thing that I'm most excited and really focused is decentralized AI and privacy, right? Because most of those frameworks, especially the Python framework, is all think about on the server. Everything is on the server. It's easier. It's way much easier to implement, but the privacy is way much harder. We think this from the decentralized way on day one, right? Like our OSpheres, we build this browser, all those memory, everything about you are never leave your browser side. That makes us to make this kind of a AI agent way much harder to implement, because we don't want server know about you. But this is something, once we get this done, I believe that decentralized AI is going to be the future. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Well, in that case, Robert, thank you. You're gonna be here, after the chat as well, right?
Yes, I'm here, and also Matt is from my team, and so I'm the dev reel. Matt is a boss, and for this thing. So
Okay,
yeah.
great. So before we break, and then for further networking and discussion, and round of applause. At this point, I wanted to take a little bit of time. This is more for as a community, we want to pay forward or to ask help as well. So, at this time, anybody, if you guys have a project that you wanted to talk about and wanted to recruit any collaborators, or if you're looking for a job, or if you are actually looking to hire, just take a quick, let's say that you have 15, 30 seconds, who you are and what you're looking for. Yeah, so any volunteers? Going once?
Hello, we are in stealth mode building niche more. My name is Shuai. I'm the nerd guy who asked the nerd question from the beginning. Shuai, S-H-U-A-I. Thank you for the clapping. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, Shuai, S-H-U-A-I. We are building in stealth mode a vertical AI medical scribe. Yeah, another AI scribe, but we have our niches. We know we have paying customer. We've been working with them for 3 months now. We know our advantages. We also know our competition well. So we're looking for developers. We're not getting funding yet. We're not sure about if I should take them. But if you're working on medical or knows anyone working in the medical, like sports injury, orthopedics, or PT, come talk to me. Or if you have any experience or just want to connect, talk to me. I used to work in AWS for almost a decade. If you have tech questions, I'm very nerdy. So happy to chat for free, whatever. All right, thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. All right. Anybody else? Come on, it's a free publicity. Going once, going twice. Okay, in that case, thank you everyone for coming. This is a lovely day, so I really appreciate you guys coming and spending time with us. I think we're gonna have a space until 8 o'clock. So now we can break and then can use either this room or outside. And if you wanted to ask the other experts of deep, nerdy questions, please go ahead. But